of Graal Madsen already. So now Tobias Karlslunga from Italy next to go. Karlslunga, 26 years old. Didn't qualify in Saturday's World Cup Giant Slalom. Did make the second run in Val d'Isère in Slalom, but he skied out in the second run. Got a World Cup best in Slalom of 7th. That came last season in Val d'Isère. Has scored points in Giant Slalom on the World Cup Tour just once. That was in Kranjska Gora back in 2023. I finished 23rd there. Again, I can hear this snow. It is going to cut up. It is going to get a little softer. It's not the coldest of days here in Valloire, but this is what you've got to learn in this game. You've got to handle all these conditions. 0.43 off at the split. It's a little bit better than the Norwegian in second place. Graal Madsen's time still holding on as the best of the early starters so far. 1:17.50. Just waiting on Karlslunga coming through this next pitch, or has he had a problem somewhere? Let's. Oh, there he is. So just taking a bit of time to get there. Graal Madsen stays in the lead. Now we are getting the times before they cross the line. So just something to watch out for there. So we do see the finish time before we see the racer crossing the line. Next to go, Simon Talachi from Italy. Another made the trip to Val d'Isère for the Giant Slalom. Picked up a 3rd place in the opening round of the Europa Cup Giant Slalom Tour in Zinal. 3rd and 8th. That's got him in 5th place in the Europa Cup standings, of course. Pot of gold at the end, isn't there? If you win the GS standings, you get that named World Cup spot. Whatever your nation has got in terms of quota, they can add you plus whoever wins the Europa Cup GS standings. Strong skier is Talachi. Coming through this midsection, it flattens up a little, but the radius shortens. Get a look at the time check, 0.38. This is looking good. He's had 4 Europa Cup podiums in his career, including that 3rd place in Zinal. So a man that knows this level, knows you've really got to attack. This is not the run to hold back on, particularly if you're in that top seed of racers. This course, I think, is going to get a little trickier through as we work our way through the morning and through the starters. There's the time of Graal Madsen and Talachi. I'll call it once he crosses the line. 2nd place, 0.81. So decent run for the Italian, but nobody that close to Graal Madsen yet. Very interested to see this next skier as we hop to the drone. The 22-year-old Edward Halberg from Finland. First World Cup podium this season on home soil in Levi. Finished in 3rd place. Took the win in the 2nd GS on the Europa Cup Tour in Zinal. Was 5th in the opening round. So we've seen what he can do. We know what he can do in slalom on the World Cup Tour. But he's a two-discipline skier and maybe not quite at the level yet compared to his slalom, but he's not far away. You don't win a Europa Cup if you're not a handy GS skier. Get very active, dynamic, nice movement through this section, perhaps just pushed a little late in the line, but he's closer. He's really attacking this one, is Halberg. The closest we've seen to anyone, the closest anyone has got to Graal Madsen. Can he keep it up? There's about 17 seconds of the run to go. It's been impressive from Halberg so far. We just wait for him to roll over this pitch. It's a really tricky finishing pitch here in Valloire. There's the time in here. You could be a little bit more direct just through this last couple of turns into that tuck position. He's lost quite a bit of time on the bottom section as Halberg goes into 3rd place. Okay, but his top split, very impressive. He was 0.39 quicker than anyone on the top split. We move on quickly. Guylaine Favre now from France. 25 years old, out of Courchevel. Has been on the World Cup Tour in Giant Slalom, hasn't qualified yet. French national champ, won the GS French National Championships in Maribel back in March of last season, April, I should say. Quick first split from Favre. Again here, this is where you might just be able to take a little bit of risk, but these two gates he's just gone through, that just tightens up a little bit, and that is where you've really got to be pinching the line. You roll over here. There's some good terrain changes on this hill that does mean these racers really got to have their eyes open. The inspection would have been absolutely key. Looking at those terrain changes and the set, how you're going to handle it, where you're going to get on the gas pedal, where you're going to step off. And now this tricky final section. So Graal Madsen's time, 1:17.50, remains the best at 1:19.02, a second and a half off of the pace for Favre. Quite a bit of work to do on the second run. Fadri Jantin now for Switzerland, 25 years old, out of Obersaxon. 11th and 17th in Zinal in the opening rounds. Jantin, a medalist at the 2021 World Junior Championships in Slalom. Took the silver medal there. Does have some World Cup experience. He scored points in Giant Slalom going back to last season, 25th place in Alta Badia. Anyone that scored points in World Cup Giant Slalom tells you, again, the level of the field here. Does have a win, actually, in World Cup in Team Parallel going back to 2022. World Cup best of 14th. He's looking to find that level again. That's why he's here on the Europa Cup Tour. Of course, there's Alpine World Cups coming up next weekend. There's also Women's Alpine tonight as for you to enjoy under the floodlights. Women's Slalom. Michaela Schifrin dominating Slalom. Again, isn't she? What a weekend for the American team, though, in St. Moritz. That was thoroughly enjoyable. So, Jantin onto the final pitch, and they're not getting much closer to Graal Madsen here. He's really taken advantage of that number one start position, bib one, and the Swiss skier goes into 6th place from Lithuania. Next to go, Andrei Dukharov, 26 years old. Didn't qualify on Sunday's GS in Val d'Isère. This man, a Winter Olympian as well, 2-time Winter Olympian. Was at Pyeongchang and in Beijing. Had a few problems in Beijing. Skied out the second run of the GS, didn't start the slalom. But he's a strong skier, given his bib position. Actually ranked in Giant Slalom 60th in the world, 17 FIS points for Dukharov. 7th at the opening split, 7th quickest at the opening split, 0.29 behind. It's already getting a little bumpy. You can just see some soft snow around here in Valloire. Just off the line, he's pushed backwards there, but recovers very, very quickly. And Dukharov, the bottom section, this is where you've got to dig deep. You've got to be strong, focus on that line. Is there anywhere left where you can take some risk? And more slipping going on. They're going to need to be doing a lot of that today. You can see not much snow either side of the piste. And Dukharov's just standing a little tall, but 8th place, 2.56. That is the slowest of anyone so far here. Noel Zwischenbrugger next up for Austria. 24 years old. Gets underway. Was in Santa Catarina last week, 6 days ago, 13th in Europa Cup Super G, 4th in Zinal, the second giant slalom of the season. Many of these racers just building in early season. And Zwischenbrugger did make the trip to Copper Mountain, didn't qualify in GS there. He does have a World Cup best of 13, 3 World Cup giant slalom point scores for this man, including a couple last season as well, 22nd in Hafjell and in Adelboden. Again, this is a guy that the Austrians are being very, very patient with. If I get time, I'll come into a couple of thoughts on that for you. And we're seeing the Austrians not necessarily rush their athletes, so give them time to develop. Didn't always happen in the past. The pipeline of talent was always there in Austria. See it with Stefan Brennsteiner, don't you? Getting this with the success he's having this season. Would that have happened in the past? Would he have been given the time? Well, we'll never know. And Zwischenbrugger. Yeah, well, he's lost a lot of time towards the bottom. 1.55 off the pace, goes into 8th place. Now from Spain. Alex Robert Serracanta. 10th to go here. Carl Madsen still in the lead. This man, 20 years old, out of La Molina, ranked 59th in the world on FIS points in GS. And what a top section this is from the young man from Spain. Very, very impressive. Little bit of precipitation falling as well. These are not ideal race conditions, are they? Especially with the light and the fog. Oh, and he's just hooked up a little there. That's going to cost him a bit of time. Recovered very, very quickly. Took a win in NORAM competition in Beaver Creek just last week. Did race in Solden. Still holding on okay at the, I'll get him at the next split, see what the gap is. But his top split was impressive. 3rd quickest through the top split. We wait. Here he comes. Well, it's been an aggressive run from Robert Serracanta. And he goes into 6th place at 1:18.70 again. We're seeing many skiers get close to Graal Madsen on the top section, but it's the bottom section where these athletes are losing time. Sandro Zurbruegg now for Switzerland, 23 years old from Frutigen, which I think is near that Adelboden area. 5th in giant slalom at the 2023 World Junior Championships, was at the Youth Olympic Games in 2020, and finished 2nd there. Actually commentated on him at that race. We'll see another man that did very well at those games in 2020 in Lausanne Les Diables. That's Adam Hofstad from Sweden. He's now going through the gears, isn't he? As well, some impressive results for him. So Zurbruegg again quick on the top section. He was 0.16 quicker, 4th fastest at that first split. And Zurbruegg now through the bottom section. Now this is the closest anyone's been to Graal Madsen at that time check. Any opportunity to start slipping this course has got to be taken by the course crew, coaches, the ESF on hand, as they always are. They know how to run races in this part of the world. So Zurbruegg from Switzerland, how close can he get to that 1:17.50? Well, crossing the line, losing a little bit more time on the bottom section. 7th place. They're starting to stack up. Simon Talachi, the closest in 2nd place, as David Leonardo Seppi gets underway. 12th to start this race, 23-year-old from Italy. 22 Europa Cup giant slalom starts. He's not stepped up to the World Cup Tour yet. Time on his side. No need to rush. That's my opinion. Learn your craft here. Best of 8th and 9th in Europa Cup Tour. Those results coming in Zinals. Any skier that's dropping in with their best Europa Cup results at the start of the season tells you they've had a really good training block. They've done well. They've come into the season in great shape, and that is certainly the case for this young man, Seppi. It's all about now managing his way through this race. 0.70, a little bit further away than we've seen some skiers at that time check. But this section onwards where skiers are losing a little bit of time, we're not able to just get a real good look at the course conditions here, but we're delighted just to be bringing you some pictures so you can enjoy some ski racing on a Tuesday morning. I'm certainly enjoying it. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are watching. Great to have your company. 11th place for Seppi, 1.72. Okay, it's shaping up for a really interesting second run here. 3 times he's been in the points last season in Copper Mountain, Hafjell and Kranjska Gora. In fact, Copper Mountain this season, in fact, 21st place, do beg your pardon. Didn't qualify Beaver Creek, didn't finish the first run in Val d'Isère. So an athlete that's been on the World Cup Tour off, coming back down onto Europa Cup. And an opportunity on home soil for Param to try and perform and show that he really can earn those World Cup starts. But once you get on the World Cup, especially if you're from France, got to take those opportunities. He's done it a few times. And not too far away at that second split. He was 0.19 off according to the live timing, which isn't quite matching up to the timing we see on screen. Let's focus on the screen. I'll keep you up to date with the splits that I'm seeing as well. A little bit late, has to throw them sideways here. And 1:18.88, 1.38, that is okay. It's okay, don't worry too much about the position. Time is important. He's clustered in a group of skiers just behind Zurbruegg there, who's 1.27 back. Stefano Pizzato next up for Italy, 14th out of the gate. This man, 22 years old. 15th and 16th in Zinal. Did race in Storklinten in Sweden in Europa Cup Slalom. 26th place for him there. Again, good all-rounder in the tech disciplines. Bit further off, makes you work on this hill. But it just makes you work from top to bottom. 13th does lose a little bit more time than perhaps he would have liked. 2.10 off at the pace. That puts him into 13th. Samuel Bissig next up for Switzerland. Bib 15. 27 years old. 17th and 23rd in Zinal. Got the start in Solden on the World Cup Tour. Didn't make it into the second round. A man that medaled at the World Juniors in 2018 in Alpine Combined and in Super G and Ora in 2017. So a guy with that's shown a lot of potential as a junior. He's had his moments now, but 27 years old, still fighting away, trying to claw back. And if we go back to 2020, he had some really strong results on the World Cup Tour, a 13th and a 16th. And it's those results that give these skiers the belief, yeah, it might have been 5-6 years ago, but I know I can do it. 1.5 off the pace here as the course does get a little more cut up on this bottom section. So as I've been saying, these conditions not the easiest for racing, and that flat light makes it so difficult. And Bissig into 15th place, 2.59. I think the time gaps are going to be pretty big today. Anyone getting into the top 60 for a second run, of course, the top end of things skied really well at those 2020 games. If you go back even further, River Radamus one that had great success at the Youth Olympics. Fantastic opportunity for those young skiers that get selected, but they're only once every 4 years. I think there's an age group that always miss out. All part of the journey though, isn't it? Not something as a youngster you want to be necessarily focusing on, I must go to the Youth Olympics. If it happens, great. Focus on the process, focus on the long term, your own goals, your own performance. As Braken crosses the, Remsoy I should say, crosses the line. Good run for Remsoy into 5th place, 1.11 off of the pace. Now it's the turn of Theodor Braken. 21 years old, Braken did finish the first run of Saturday Slalom in Val d'Isère. 7th and 14th in Europa Cup GS this season for the 21-year-old Norwegian. Top 20 in Sun Valley back in March last season on the World Cup Tour. Got that start, of course, because he is the current world junior champion in giant slalom. World Junior Champions, as I'm sure you guys are the hardcore ski racing fans if you're with us on a Tuesday morning, so you all know that the World Junior Champion gets that start at World Cup finals. But maybe someone stumbled across us this morning. I know we're live on YouTube, and if you've found a bit of ski racing to watch by accident, please stay with us. It's really wonderful to have your company watching mixture of starts in his career. Again, was in Solden, Copper Mountain and Val d'Isère. Doesn't have any point scores yet this season. Passed the 14th on the World Cup Tour in Giant Slalom. That coming in 2024, Palisades Tahoe. One of my favorite parts of the world, that's for sure. Far from beautiful Lake Tahoe. Did some, I was there one summer actually, did some hiking up around, and it's a beautiful part of the world. So Simone, some work to do. Half a second at the second time check. This is where we're seeing a lot of time lost for most of the skiers on this bottom section. Does flatten out a bit, and Graal Madsen was so attacking, so direct through those final gates. Apologies, just losing Sim.
È importante se c'è la lancia di bagnare, è importante, cioè sono importanti queste cose, anziché c'è il tecnico.
Can't see anyone getting ahead of that time of Graal Madsen now. So Graal Madsen still in top spot, 1:17.50, 19th place for Dornauer, 3.27 back. Giskas next up for Norway, bib 20, 23 years old. 6th place, a fantastic result in Zinal in the second day of competition. For skiers at this stage, I mean, these sort of start numbers, it's like, okay, no big mistakes here. Attack where you can, but really focus on a good, clean line. Watch for those bumps and ruts. Minimize the damage. Get a good start number on run 2, and you might be able to attack. Little stumble there. I think there is a hole forming on that gate. Oh, and he's in a bit of trouble. Misses a gate, and Giskas out of the race. The first DNF of the day here. So Giskas out of it. Now we move on to Adam Hofstad from Sweden. A man I was talking about, 23 years old. Had that fantastic Youth Olympic Games back in 2020 where he won the slalom, won the Super G, 3rd in the Alpine Combined, 5th in the GS. He has stepped up to the World Cup in the GS. He has stepped up to the World Cup Tour. Raced in Schladming last season in GS and in slalom. Raced in Schladming last season in GS and in slalom on the World Cup. Didn't qualify. Got the start. It's holding. It's bumpy in places. We've had 21 skiers down it. That's going to happen. But testament to the prep here. They've done a very, very good job. And Hofstad on the bottom section of the run. Really smooth, fluid style from Hofstad. If he keeps on the trajectory that he's on, I think we'll see him in the top 30 of the World Cups. Maybe slalom first. Who knows about GS, but Hofstad from bib 21 on the bottom section in the finish area. Goes into 14th place. 1.76 off the pace. That's going to hold up okay as we work our way through this field. Bridger Guile out of Aspen Colorado 26-year-old skier underway. Won World Cup point score in giant slalom, 24th at last season. Once you get the taste of it, though, that is you want a lot more, don't you? Best Europa Cup of 6th. Come in last season in Turnhout, where we had next on the Europa Cup Alpine World Europa Cup Alpine World. I'll get that right. Europa Cup Tour. Very good top section. This is good from Bridger Guile. The best that we've seen for some time, running it deep in the line. He's carrying some speed here, 0.45. If he could get this within a second, Bridger Guile is going to be delighted in the finish. Across so many disciplines over the years at one of those top clubs in Norway. One World Cup GS score for Gudliksrud, 24th in Aspen back in 2024. Bit of work to do, losing some time on the top splits. Big hole there, he's pushed very late in the line, huge recovery. Oh, and yeah, 1.31. This might be closer to 3 seconds by the time we get to the finish line. Got to put that behind him. You never know, he might just hold on to a top 30, which could be absolutely key. It's going to depend what these later starters do. And the key thing, big mistake like that, don't panic, don't rush it. Goes into 18th place, 2.39. Good damage limitation there from Gudliksrud. So, and that could have been so much better as well with that huge error in the run. Hannes Zingeli now. The Italian starting bib at 25. Years old. He's Zingeli, one of those skiers we were talking about, weren't we? About
Dieu, ça se bacagne là, bâche un peu.
Absolutely not. You've seen that with Braunsteiner. You can break through at any point. 1.44 for Bognes from Denmark. Doesn't want to really drop outside. I'd say maybe anything within about 1.8 off of Graham Madsen's time is very, very useful at this stage of the race, of this stage of the first run. And Borgnez crosses the line. Okay, 3.38 down, and he might be going outside of the 30 with that. Goes into 25th place, losing a lot of time on the bottom section. That'll be frustrating. Nick Spuri now from Switzerland, bib 28. 25 years old. Now we're getting into skiers that maybe don't have World Cup experience, but they've certainly got Europa Cup experience. And this man from Switzerland, best of 13th, coming in Zinal. As I was saying, if you're getting your career best in Europa Cup at this stage of the season, tells you everything has worked well over the summer. And Spuri, okay, just over 0.2 of a second at the first split. Recovered a little. The next split certainly off the live timing. A bit late in the line there. He recovers well. See how low he got. Generated some real force on the ski to recover. That was impressive. He's pushed late again. He's taken some risks.
Veramente può far valere le sue doti, veramente con cattiveria e decisione, perché la pista è bellissima ancora.
Hasn't started yet, so they're just repairing that B netting. Time to do a bit of a course slip. Skral Madsen in first, Talachi in second, Edward Halberg in third. Brakovic in a tie for third, actually, with Halberg. Fifth place, Remsoy. Kastlanger sixth. About Serracanta from Spain in seventh. Zurbruegg from Switzerland eighth. Paron from France in 9th. And Patrick Kenny, 26th, bib 26th into 10th place. Hugo Marchand underway now. Coming off the back 6 days ago by second place in slalom in an FIS race. 11th and 19th in Zinal, the opening GS is of the season. This is the Youth Olympic champion from the Gangwon Youth Olympic Games in giant slalom. That was in January 20. Hugo Marchand losing a little bit of time through that section, and he goes into 27th place, 3.61. He's going to be watching the scoreboard or the timing board very, very closely to see if he is going to be in the top 30. Louis Mullenschild from Australia, 27 years old, Winter Olympian. 27th in the Aspen GS on the World Cup Tour in 2024. And for Louis, a skier that knows on his day he can get in on the World Cup Tour. But it's tough here on Europa Cup as the weather is really closing in here. It's going to be a difficult race for the later starters, but particularly for the young guns, great learning opportunity. 1.51 off the pace at the moment. The time gaps will change a little bit, so we're not going to see much of every skier at this stage. Mullenschild, I can tell you, goes into 13th place. That is a really good run, 1.51. Seigo Kato from Japan is underway. He's had a very good top section. Apologies, just losing him. We've got two skiers on course now at the same time for these later bib numbers. And a man from Japan, well, I can tell you, here he is. I won't tell you where he's gone. But from bib 32, skis into 16th place. That is impressive from Kato. He'll take that. Tiziano Gravier underway now for Argentina. 23-year-old skier. Isaiah Nelson underway for the USA, 25 years for the USA, 25 years old, from Switzerland, out of Brienz, not far from Meiringen. Probably does a bit of the skiing there, or not, who knows, I'll have to ask him. Best Europa Cup result of 4th, that came in downhill. That was just a few days ago as well in Santa Catarina, so strong results in speed, but here working on tech into 31st place. Isaiah Nelson is underway. Here he is, bib 35 out of Buck Hill. Same hill that Lindsey Vonn grew up skiing on in Minnesota. Good friend of mine, sadly passed away. Was involved in the coaching in the Minnesota area with his 3 boys. Fantastic facilities, aren't there, in that part of the world? Yeah, you get great, good hard snow conditions for developing the technical skills in slalom and GS, and Nelson taking some risk through there, running quite a deep line. I like it. And he goes into 21st and 2.19 off of the pace. That could keep him in the top 30. So decent run there from Isaiah Nelson from the USA. Leo Baraldi underway for France out of Les Deux Alpes. As the crow flies, it's not that far. Bit quicker as well in the underway for France out of Les Deux Alpes. As the crow flies, it's not that far. Bit quicker. Decent result was 7th in Levy in the Europa Cup slalom, 12th in Storklington. So some solid results for this. And Allnet taking his opportunity, picking up a host of World Cup points. Goes into 23rd, and from bib 40, that is solid. And he'll be, I think that is going to hold up in the top 30. Top 60, of course, getting a second run. The 30 will be reversed. Cooper Puckett now from the USA out of Steamboat Springs. Puckett family, legends of ski racing in the US. I remember Paul Casey Puckett raced on the Alpine World Cup Tour and switched into ski cross as well. Did Paul? That's Cooper's uncle. Be really interesting to see where he goes. 35th place for Cooper Puckett. His father Chris, an Olympian as well. Great pedigree. Eric Reed now, another one with famous father. Eric Reed, still so much respect for someone like Eric Reed that's been there on the World Cup Tour. 34 years old, still has the belief. Fantastic technical skier. Eric Reed, best World Cup results, 6th in 2016 in Alpine Combined. He's been in the top 10 in both giant slalom and in slalom, but still throwing everything he's got at it. And Eric Reed from Canada into 20th place. That is solid. From bib 42 in these sort of conditions, that is really, really useful.
C'était correct. Bah ouais, il prend 2 par là-bas. Il a le but, ouais, il s'arrête bien.
The success he's had as a junior European Youth Olympic gold medal. In the gate here, bib 53, Dilio Kunz from Switzerland. So Dilling is underway. The intervals have shortened, of course. We will see Kunz out of the start gates. 26 years old.
54 au départ.
A man that's traveled the globe in this sport. Best Europa Cup result of 10th coming in 2024 in Pastern in Austria. The man that's been over-raced in the Far East Cup in Japan last season. Can be useful for getting some points and helping with those start numbers at other races. Jacob Dilling from the USA. Back to him from the University of Colorado. He's had some problems up there, 26-year-old. Been on the Europa Cup in the past and goes into 45th place, a long way back. Didn't see the issue. I had my head down looking at some notes though. Osaban now for Slovenia, although it has got underway. That looks like Dilio Kunz though, bib 53. And that will be Osaban. A little bit further up. And Dilio Kunz on the bottom part of the course. I can tell you he's got into 45th place. Yeah, there it is. Apologies for the pictures shifting around a little bit. Jacob Eisner and Thomas Reiner are on course, both from Austria, bib 55 and bib 56. This should be Jacob Eisner out of Klagenfurt. 21st in the second GS in Zinal on the Europa Cup Tour. Again, Europa Cup point scores. You would think, okay, World Cup's one thing, Europa Cup point score, easy? No, forget it. It's not easy. The talent is off the charts, and Eisner into 45th place. That second run and get into the top 30 once this is all done and dusted. Thomas Reiner now for Austria. 2.46 off 22-year-old out of Leogang. Lovely part of the world, isn't it? As most of Austria is. 34th last time out in Zinal, close to the points. Had a busy start to the season, was racing slalom in Pasthorn. For many of the skiers at this stage, not doing too many races, still focusing on the training. And that Reiner into 47th place. Turo Toivonen now for Finland. We've got Halberg in a tie for third. Toivonen 28th and 24th in the points, 29th in the opening GS. The points, 29th in the opening GS of the season. The Europa Cup Tour. There really is no let up on this course, is there, for these skiers? And Senhofer, see where he ends up. Get it under 5 seconds, that'll do. And he's done okay, 47th, 4.4, but you know, a big improvement in the second run, and you can jump a lot of places. Everyone is so tightly packed together. William Saint-Germain from Canada, out of Mont Saint Anne. Good races there the other week, weren't there? 33 years old, couple of World Cup starts this last season and this season. So the World Juniors many years ago, 2013. 30th in the 2013 World Juniors in GS, and Saint-Germain crosses the line in 40th, 3.52. Okay, gives them a chance. Good second run. Might find some Europa Cup points there. Peder Lunder now from Norway. Skied out both races in Zinal. Was fourth though in the opening Europa Cup slalom of the season. That was also won by Hans Graal Madsen. What a season Graal Madsen is having. Sort of winning top results wherever you look, and impress these young skiers. And into 51st, 5.29. Jonas Skabar underway. Nolan Sweeney from the USA is a DNF. I'm not sure if we'll see Nolan. But I can tell you he has skied out. I hope I've not spoiled it for you. Jonas Skabar is on course for France. Pietro Franchina in the gate from Morocco. Just checking if Skabar has skied out. It's really good first split from Skabar and a good second split, bib 64. We're going to see the man from Morocco out of the gate, Trankina. But I can tell you, Skabar is on an absolute flyer, and I can tell you, he's skied out. I've just seen that flash up on the live timing. So really, really good splits from Jonas Skabar, but unfortunately skiing out. Trankina underway for Morocco. 22 years old. Did get the start in Val d'Isère on Saturday here. Emil Nyberg is underway for Sweden. Some more slipping going on this course. Nyberg underway, and Philip Jonsson underway as well. Here is Emil Nyberg. Okay, from bib 66, the time gap 4.02. Respectable from Nyberg. Charlie Woodbridge from France is also on course right now. Here is Charlie. 20 years old out of Courchevel, getting onto the Europa Cup Tour. Not easy in the big Alpine skiing nations to even get the Europa Cup starts. Scored points last season in Andorra, a couple of points there for a 29th place finish. Seeing athletes skiers still okay on the top split, but as we get further down, things do change a little. It is a long, tough course, and into 50th place for Woodbridge. Again, just hoping to hold on. That is the key thing. Stay in that 60, get a second run. Philip Jonsson now for Sweden. 20 years old. Coming off the back of...
C'était comment là? Sur la piste, 7 sur...
Le 75 au départ.
Allez, grand, allez, allez hein. même, c'est sûr. Allez. Allez, gars. Allez!
Oh, big problems for the Italian. Lost a ski there. Let's hope the course crew can just make sure everything's out of the way. And we don't have to do any reruns. So there's the scene in the start. Coaches have got the big jackets on. Bib 78, Tomad Bata, Mercadal from Spain. Really impressive run from Serracanta, sitting in 7th place. And now Barata Mercadal underway for Spain. Emil Bauer for France is on course. 3.36 off at the pace right now out of Le Grand Bonnard. Again, as the crow flies, not too far away from Valloire. I really like this part of the world. I spent some time not far away from here in Le Toussuire. Fantastic ski. I call it secret skiing. What I mean by that, most people know Maribel, Courchevel, Tignes, Val d'Isère, but some of these places are absolutely fantastic. 63rd there for Emil Bauer, 5.52 off the pace. No second run, sadly, for him. We hear about all the big resorts, but France has all these places like Valloire, Le Toussuire, Le Grand Bonnard that the French like to visit, and for good reason. Again, it wasn't me that told you that. Don't tell anyone. .24 years old out of Ramsau. Man ahead of him on course.
C'est pas la même course.
Ok, on descend pour mettre les écouteurs avec la corde. Et moi, je vais faire ma position.
Nine skiers currently missing out on a second run at the moment.
continue en départ.
C'est presque prêt, mais il manquait un tout petit peu. Je pense qu'il ne fera des matchs par rapport à ça. C'était combien la longueur? T'as bien à haute 10 minutes. Ah ouais. T'as pas fait long feu le gros. Ah bon? 3, Charles il fait 4 en décembre. Il prend 3 et 4, il prend le top 6, c'est bien. Il est jeune aussi, tu vois, ça pousse un peu et tout, donc c'est bien. Après, vous allez où? Wengen. Le 10 janvier. Là, ils sont à Valloire. Il neige pas là-bas. C'est qui qui est là? Ah, pardon. Ah oui, ça c'est où? Ouais, là, c'est Sylvain. Martin. Suivi de Chartier.
Il a pensé et tout, mais...
Enfin, le dernier concurrent.
So a DNF for Sasha there. That is shame for the 23-year-old from Valsin. He's had a few Europa Cup starts under his belt. Not many results though. Did score points once in slalom in 2023. Disappointing there. He's found a coach. They'll talk it over. And that brings us to the end of the first run. We've had 73 finishers. Tudo Torvinen in 60th. Just the last man, exactly 5 seconds off getting into the second run. Hans Graal Madsen, first out of the gates, off the back of a fantastic result, as I was saying at the weekend. 1:17.50, that is the fastest time by a big margin as well. 0.81 over Simon Talachi. Edward Halberg in a tie for third with Rasmus Bakovic from Norway. They're 1.3 back. Don't forget that second run. We are flipping the top 30, so it is going to be a little difficult, a little trickier for those skiers once we get on to that second run. My understanding is things are going to start a little bit earlier than planned. I'm just double checking. Yeah, 10 past 12 actually. So no, I think that is all planned. 10 past 12. So local for me, local time. 1:15 for the second
Moi, j'ai
run.
bientôt plus de batterie non plus.
So that is when we're expecting the second run to get underway. And run as well. All of these skiers will go from bib 31 onwards after Graal Madsen has been, and that will be a little tougher for Graal Madsen. Certainly not pulling out of the gate first, is he? So, but that's what you got to learn. That's what you got to do. Very, absolute opposite experience to what he had in World Cup on Sunday, where he had the advantage of an earlier start number. And there we see the skiers who miss out. 5 seconds was what you needed to be within today. People out on the hill, coaches, the ESF, ASF, École du Ski Français, and just anyone that's there lending a hand. Maybe some from the local ski club as well. Plenty from the local ski club, because they're the ones putting this race together and doing a fantastic job as well here in Valloire. Clearing the gates out of the way. We'll get reset for the second run. Justin Bernard from France will be setting the second run. Inspection gets underway fairly soon. At 12:15, that inspection starts, just a one-run inspection as well. Interestingly, the top 30 get their own inspection, and then everyone else, certainly on the first run, got another inspection. As you can see, the top 3, there, top 4, because we got a tie for 3rd place. Well, snow falling here in Valloire. The fog, the clouds are getting lower. It's going to be a really, really tricky second run.
leaders here. Little error, 5 from home, but that is our new leader. And the target time is dropped considerably. She's shooting for the podium here, and she just grabs 3rd position, 0.53.
Valloire respire le ski de compétition. On a une piste, la Cétaz, là, qui est vraiment exceptionnelle, qui est digne d'une des plus grandes pistes de Coupe du Monde en géant.